Hello, everybody. How are you all? Good. It's a quiet Tuesday. How is everybody? You're here. You're choosing poetry. You're my kind of people. Thanks for being here on a Tuesday. And this is our last reading of the fall season. So you're helping us with an exclamation point at the end of a beautiful sentence. And we're grateful for that and really excited to have Charif Shanahan with us behind his beautiful new book and all of his poems. And so we'll hear more from Charif, of course, shortly, and an introduction coming. My name's Tyler. I work here as the director at the Poetry Center. My sole job tonight is to tell you just a few things. One is those books that I mentioned that are beautiful, they're all for sale. And there are people you love who need presents, and you should buy them this book. And maybe that person's yourself. So avail yourselves of those books afterwards. I know Charif would be happy to sign them. And I want to just tell you I want to say this too. There are people who make these readings happen in semesterly ways here. And that's the staff at the Poetry Center. So it's such a team sport, and we have such a beautiful team. And there's a few representatives of that group that are here. And so Bruno makes everything sound good. And so a round of applause for Bruno for all of his work. And then I get to work every day with Paula Valenzuela, and she's over here. And she makes so many good things happen at the Poetry Center, and it's such a joy to work with these people all the time in regular ways. So give them a high five afterwards too and tell them how great they are. The other thing I want to mention is that there's a spring season that's coming, and so you maybe saw some of those events that are happening coming up that were on the slideshow that was just behind me. But just to give you a taste of what's coming up in January, we'll come back on January 11th. There's a reading, the 25th anniversary reading from the magazine terrain.org, and that's going to feature the poets Allison Adele Hedgecoke, Derek Sheffield, and Julie Swarstad Johnson from the Poetry Center, which we're really excited about. On the 18th of January, we have a reading with the poet Edgar Coons. And then on the 25th, we have the poet Brenda Hillman coming back to Tucson. And on the 27th, on a Saturday for a matinee reading, we have the poet Robert Hass. So we're really excited about that. There'll be more coming in the rest of the season. The calendar will be announced in the coming weeks, so we just want to make sure everybody knows about those. Start to imagine those events here at the Poetry Center and come join us. I also want to mention many of these, the readers who are coming in the spring are also teaching courses. And so we're in a window right now where we have our financial aid window for the classes in the spring. So we want to make these classes available without a barrier to anybody who wants to take them. If you could use support to take one of the classes, this is a great time to apply. It's very easy to apply. You just check a box that says, I need this, and then you're in. And then we are able to give away 4 tuitions to the class of your choice. So we'll pull 4 names out of everyone who submits interest, and we're really excited to support that and to bring people into those classes for the spring. General registration for those classes opens up on the 12th. So if you're interested in any of those courses, that would be the time for signing up. And some of them always go quick, so sign up if you're interested. And scholarship, those financial aid windows open right now. Those are my updates. It's my pleasure to welcome up a great friend of the Poetry Center, a professor in creative writing here at the University of Arizona, the author of the poetry book, The Real Horse, and This is a Nice Neighborhood, and the artist book, Redolent, and a new book of translations that's coming out in the next year that we're very excited about, my colleague and friend, Fareed Matuk.
Hey everybody, it's my great pleasure to welcome poet and translator Charif Shanahan to the Poetry Center and to Tucson. Charif is the author of Into Each Room We Enter Without Knowing and the recent Trace Evidence. His work has been recognized and supported by National Endowment for the Arts Literature Fellowship, the Stegner Fellowship at Stanford, a Fulbright Senior Scholar Grant to Morocco, as well as with residency fellowships from Cave Canem Foundation, Hawthornden Foundation in Como, Italy, the MacDowell Colony, and others. Born in the Bronx, Shanahan traces his lineage on his mother's side to Morocco, a country that has been the site, as we might hear tonight, of some of Shanahan's most pivotal living and studying and writing. To honor that lineage, I want to start with a few lines from Francophone Moroccan poet Mohamed Kheireddine. These are some of the opening lines of the book Scorpionic Sun, sometimes translated as Arachne Sun. And this version is from the French, translated by Connor Bracken. I'll start again at 0 if I have to. Here is a window opening on me, an eye open, showing this vast and wasted land. Another Moroccan writer, Taher Ben Jaloun, counted Karadine, along with Kateb Yassin and Ami Cesser, as the 3 writers who most, quote, grabbed hold of the French language with a violent passion, who were able to rattle and enrich the colonizer's tongue. No, decolonizing is not a metaphor, but it is a proposal emerging from the place where land and consciousness meet, not in ownership, but in relation. Charif Shanahan's trace evidence shows me that to get closer to that place, poets will find their own way to rattle the colonizer's tongue. Quietly, deliberately, directly, Charif starts again and again at the same 0 where Karadine finds his footing. Quote, to inhabit the present moment that agitates me into fleeing, Charif writes. But he knows well enough that the coping scripts we learn, the scripts of mindfulness, for example, are sometimes not enough to pacify the 0 of witnessing or the 0 of exile. As Charif writes, home was not a place in any sense, an idea defined by its absence. Karadine writes, here is a window opening on me. That window's transparency and visibility can let in the light, but they can also mark a body's availability to surveillance. Charif rattles a language without having to do violence to the syntax or grammar of its surface. He rides the language to enter the most intimate grief of a colonized and racialized and gendered person's experience. Quote, I prepare for the hour I lose by preparing. I'm going to read that again. I prepare for the hour I lose by preparing. Few lines of verse have rattled me more than that one, naming so succinctly the way surveillance becomes internalized as vigilance, and the grief and helplessness of marking how much living has been lost to that labor. And where Karadine writes, quote, and I open, showing this vast and wasted land, I think of Charif reminding us that an officer's chokehold seeks to induce, quote, an unconscious state, even death. Charif is open enough to stand in the overlap between the unconsciousness the state would force on a body it seeks to dominate, and the unconsciousness Charif himself courts, as a state of mind that would hold the news of such violence at bay. Charif loves us enough, respects us enough to not end trace evidence with resolution. Charif opens his spirit and ours to show us the vast and wasted land inside, and to remind us while we're all there, we are not alone. Please welcome Charif Shanahan.
Thank you so much for that moving, deeply moving introduction. I teared up a little. It's not difficult to make me do that, but that was really moving. Thank you. Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm really honored to be a part of this storied series and to have some time here in the cottage and to share these poems with you. I've been traveling all year, sharing the book in different parts of the country and even abroad, luckily enough, and it feels really right somehow to close out this year of touring here with all of you. So I'll read from the book. The book is in 3 sections, and I'll just trace us through the book, letting the work speak for itself. Thank you so much again for being here. Mulatto quadroon somewhere between. I want to tell you what for me it has been like. To speak at all, I must occupy a position in a system whose positions I appear not to occupy. Though some say such non-position is my position, speak from that placeless place outside the system, etc., some would say and have said. If the placeless place is created by terms of the system, then it must be within the system, even if it appears otherwise. And so it may be that the position presumed to be of body might better be regarded as a position of thought or a receptivity to possible experience, as conceived by the still implausible eye of a man who defined the flimsy self he carried against those whom he did not understand or know or in any real sense see. And if the possible vision of that implausible eye accounted for you in name only, then filed you under consequence, side effect. It is not that the system fails to position you, it positions you actively and specifically nowhere, so that you appear on the outside and remain within, or you appear within but remain on the outside, which is to say, in other words, apart and a part. And so if to speak in a particular social world, I must occupy a position, and that world consists of positions that are clear, but none of which clearly I occupy, then it may be that I cannot, even if I want to, tell you what for me it has been like. And so, colonialism. At intersections, I knew to look both ways, as she had taught me, as she had known to look both ways at the port of arrival, not to Ellis Island or to JFK, but to the white blanket of my father, then back to her mother, then away. So that when the single summer we returned to the land she had left, and the four of us, she, myself, my two tanned brothers, stood below the open Casablanca sun, waiting on a thinly grassed divider for a sliver to form within the traffic, the air smart and nearly visible as neighbor boys pointed down from windows, "Mricani, Mricani," and I dashed through the exhaust of 4 lanes, not exactly a highway, but still too wide to be crossing, and without a crosswalk, no less. She rushed to the other side and slapped my backside hard. "Elèche, mon fils, why would you do that to me?" This is called 33rd Year, and it is for Will. You can see already how this will work out for you. You will dither into and out of your days. You will find the conditions with which to talk a good game. Oh, that California sun, the air is just cleaner out here. As the vines grow tighter around the house, this time a borrowed one, shared with 22 white eccentrics, 3 of whom are the children you used to say you wanted, but no longer see as viable. Who gets to live the life they think they want? So few curate with energy. You'll come to an end which will feel final, but naturally also be a beginning. And you can see how that phase will work out for you too. It's all a single thread, after all, a single braid. Only looking closely do you see the phrase, "Do the vines grow tighter?" You'll seek help from 2 women dedicated to helping others, and they will be unable to help you, despite your organizing your life around their help. That's the way it is, you know? You look to the left, and to your right, a golden ticket falls from the sky. You write a book of poems, and your hero, at your book party, tosses her hand through the air to tell her friend, who's just asked who you are, that you are nobody. True story, that. It's all right, I got a couple lines out of it. How's everybody doing? You doing all right? Yeah, good, all right. Control. In the Pornhub video, two houseless men suck each other on a subway bench. It's late at night, but not late enough no one is around. The people are outraged, call the men disgusting, New York and humans disgusting, while they continue to record. I have the space inside my body to feel the two men, their commitment to pleasure absent basic comfort. The one's face nearly neutral, as though his friend's mouth and the sting of existence canceled each other out, almost like a mannequin just there. On Hyde Street yesterday morning, walking briskly in no clear direction, I saw a man on the opposite sidewalk, a motorcycle parked at a right angle to his feet. He put one hand on a handle, the other on his crotch, and glared above the slow-moving traffic at me. The question in his face, its own answer. When I tell you I don't know what to do with my life, I mean I don't know how to stay inside it. Joy, Gary says, is a feeling of profound gratitude. And before I can ask for what, for having come how far I have come, I celebrate my friend and think at once, we should be grateful then for surviving a country that makes of survival a victory and not a right. We talk about our boyfriends, syntax, Nella Larson's passing. Gary leans across the couch to touch my chin. We were lovers once, briefly. I look at him, look at me. Try to love yourself, darling, he says. You're going to be here a long time. Exile. It happened inside a single room for me. Forgive me if you feel with this assertion I diminish you or the integrity of your story. But it's true. I was nowhere there, on the frayed brown carpet between two beds, mine to the right, my brother's to the left, counting the tiny holes in the radiator cover, dark eyes piercing through painted white metal. When I looked around, I saw nothing that I was, not even other nothings, like me. Do you think I take from you? I do not take from you. I am you. All right, this will be the last poem from the first section, and it's called My People. I have longed to say my people, not because I was born of two peoples, of blue-tiled walls and strip malls, not because I don't know where I belong or with whom, or worse, who I am, as onlookers have in their pity proclaimed, the lovers too after they've exited my body which they felt emboldened to name. I have wanted to say my people, and to be clear, to all people, to any you imagined by the mind of an embodied you that was also first imagined. I am interested in repair without shame. I am interested in restitution with anger. I am interested in anger as love, in having anyone who hears the phrase see it vanish into the edge of what they know, to know how far I mean it to reach. My people as redundancy, as symbol of the first truth, immutable, almost banal in its assertion. If you are on this earth, you are of this earth. Thanks for the snaps, Tyler. I like snaps. Feel free, y'all. Thanks. I mean, don't feel forced, but feel free. It's really good to be with you. In 2015, in the fall of 2015, I left my job and my apartment in New York for what I thought would be a year in Morocco on a Fulbright. I had proposed a project to research representations of Blackness in the Maghreb, in that part of North Africa and Northwest Africa, both literary and visual depictions of Blackness. And I went and I thought I would be there for a year, and 2 months into my time there, I was on an overnight bus that crashed. And I was badly hurt, and it took a minute for the doctors to figure out how badly hurt I was, and I ended up in Zurich, Switzerland, where I had lived with an ex-partner who's Swiss, and was in the hospital for about 2 months, had a number of surgeries, and ended up back in my childhood bedroom in the Bronx, you know? And so to think that you're about to spend a year in your ancestral homeland and then to end up home quite differently was, of course, a surreal experience for me and rife with spiritual questions that I filled notebooks with and eventually made this poem out of. So I think I will read the poem nearly in its entirety, which takes me about 10 minutes, just so you can feel prepared. You know what you're getting yourself into. We're about to go on a journey to Morocco. Lots of things happen, many of them challenging. So I think it's important, to let you know where you're going. It's called On the Overnight from Agadir, and there is an epigraph from Darwish. Your cause and your life are one. Don't go to discover your roots, Ladybug says. If you want to look for roots, go and look at a tree. Another day at a cafe, avoiding, pretending. Why did you come here? Tell me why. If you want to die, go ahead and die. Do it quickly. If you want to be dead, you can be dead. But the days are long and always the same. But the nights are long and always the same. I feel that time has me in a way. Do you know? A tree. But do you see its roots when you look at a tree? The syringa from the cover of that playbill in high school haunted me for weeks, its net of empty branches. See, that's the problem, that right there. How the mind moves from the one thing that's here, and suddenly I am 55, though it's still 2 o'clock on Tuesday. 2 o'clock on Tuesday happens in Morocco, too. My mother says we are European, and I shake my head at her desperate face. My mother says we speak French in Morocco, and I shake my head. Morgan says maybe it could be good for you to travel to the motherland. It's necessary trauma for each of us. I call my ex-partner in Brussels, with whom I lived in 7 cities on 3 continents, and say, Habibi, I think I just want my own apartment and a dog, and to stop working like a mule. And we laugh. Morgan says, you have to go. Why do I sense that I cannot trust what I feel in my chest? Are there even trees in North Africa? If you don't want to live, you don't want to live anywhere. Avoiding what? I'm sorry, but there's no other way to say it, meaninglessness. So that is why you get on a plane and go to the third world for a year? I don't know. Clearly, I don't know. And the third world as a phrase is so, did the colonizer kill or make thrive? Did the colonizer kill or make thrive? Honestly, who cares? I don't need history to justify me. I just want a dog. I wouldn't mind having a Moroccan lover, I tell my shrink out of things to say. Perhaps taking a Moroccan lover, ideally a black one, will help you feel connected to yourself in a new way, rejuvenate your enthusiasm for living, your sense of purpose. I fire my shrink on the spot. Call the second one as I'm leaving the office and fire her too. On the street, a Frenchie shits on the curb, her owner on his phone, looking the other way. I know exactly who I am. It's that there is no point, and then I'm telling you, just go and look at a tree. Then, in the early morning hours, on a bus almost returned to Rabat, a razor of light slits my eye down the center. Suddenly, the bus on its side, dirt in the air, stars in the dirt. In one skull, an eye looks west, another east. Into a net of glass, a girl's face is pressed. A hand cuts the smoke inside the bus. He stepped over a woman his Omi's age, hijab beside her, blonde hair exposed, her arms and legs splayed into a geometric shape. He threw himself from the bus's side, a tingling from his shoulder to his thumb. A green eye, a brown eye, in the same skull. A woman inside a bush, a child and man merged at the waist, two heads, two torsos, no feet. On the side of the road, weeds, a cough, another, no horns, a light, some trees. Inside the darkness, my eyes make a dark, all outline. It hangs heavy over me, its empty face locked on my emptied face, holding us there in mutual study. Then a slow lifting, and I breathe awake. Awake in the hospital bed, my phone rings. Ladybug. You thought you were going to Morocco, she says, laughing. You were going to the body. I know the doctor says he's fine, but he cannot feel his hand. I know, but the doctor says he's fine. The doctor says he'll be back to his old self in no time. What language were you speaking? Did you reach his parents? Yes, he doesn't want them to come. Has the mother been informed? Of her blackness or that of her children? Stop. The boy's neck. Has the mother been informed of the neck? Dear one, I was trying to enter my own life. I felt outside my own life. I was looking, trying to find a door to quiet the mind I knew I was more than. I wanted to control only what I could control. I wanted nothing grand, epiphanic, oracular. On the contrary, I wanted to be small, to disturb and be disturbed the absolute least. Silly, naive. The clock kept telling me my birthday, 12/27. Every day for a year, I saw it twice. You were waiting to live. It happens to the best of us. The within is within wherever you take it. When did you break your neck? 3 years ago now? What stillness did you seek? Whatever you're looking for is not here. What does he look for? Who does he look to be? If he wants to be dead, he can be dead. Dear one, I thought the clock was telling me to start over, that I could start over any time. I mean, 2 births a day? As the bus tilted onto its side and crashed, I saw all I would not become. A thin book turned into a face, the face turned into 4. My work, I exclaimed, inwardly, to no one in particular as we hit the gravel. I have not done my work. Mo brings me coffee in the snow to the Upper West Side, all the way from Brooklyn, and says, baby, you weren't supposed to be there. You weren't supposed to be there, and the ancestors saved you. A wooden bowl of unripe persimmons on my friend's coffee table, a ceramic bowl of yogurt with raw honey. V says, see, if that accident had happened to me, my mother would have been on the first plane out of Vancouver to be by my side. Morgan meets me for brunch so I can start getting back out into the world. Still in a neck brace, I look into her compassion. We both struggle. I phone my old shrink from college and say, can you believe this shit? I almost can't. And we laugh. Mo says, you weren't supposed to be there, baby. And we post pics on Facebook to make our friends smile. Look, you did not listen to yourself. You did not want to go, by which I mean the child inside you, and I don't care how that sounds. I hit reply to the email, then X out of the draft. I hit reply again, then go down the hall for tea. I mean, the injury took you back to Zurich where you had tried to love a man into being your father, then to your childhood bedroom in the Bronx. You can't make that shit up. I carry my tea back to the desk. It goes cold before I take a sip. Dear one, another bed, flat on my back again. Returned to the waiting. I am waiting for the neck to heal, to live. What generates this sensation that life is elsewhere or happening in the future? That it will begin once the neck has healed and I arrive in California, where it will begin once I am worthy of living, or once I feel comfortable more often than I do not, or once I can provide for myself in a 2-bedroom apartment, where it will begin once I no longer look outside myself for an answer, or once I no longer feel drawn to Morocco, to our pain, or once, where does the self hide when it hides? Where was I if I didn't know why I was there? Where does the inquiry begin? Does it begin in my particular body and my particular mind? Does it begin centuries before me? Does it begin in my mother? Does it begin in all these places at once the market tries to close? Once the mother gives her son a face he can use? It's not the skin so much as it is the shape of the bones beneath it, the way they form a gestalt. Once the father says, come back, my boy, I see you. I want you to know that I see you. Listen, I have mulled this over ad nauseum. All obvious interpretations are trite, lacking, completely uncompelling. That my home is not there, that I needed to leave, that I had to care better for my body, that my body did not belong to me, nothing is ordered, everything is random, nothing is ordered. If you will not use your voice to speak, your voice will be taken. It's not your work, silly boy. If you will not do it, your gifts will be passed to another. Thank you for driving slowly, I say from the back seat. When I was last here 3 years ago now, I was badly hurt. The road lines, vacant, lots of dust, hot air cycling through the open windows. Yes, they told me at the Riyadh, he says, I'd like to show you something. He pulls down the neck of his t-shirt, a scar from his hairline down his spine. I exit my body, then return so forcefully I shift in my seat. 18 years prior, 2 thieves in his taxi, he explains, a struggle, the car splayed by a tree, a broken neck, 2 months in hospital, the scar. And so I think Allah sent me to you. What road is this? I ask. He turns, hands steady on the wheel. The A3. It runs north to south, from Kaza to Agadir. Thanks, y'all. Thanks, y'all. We'll just do a few more from the 3rd section, and then we'll sign books and talk if you'd like to do that. So, how's everybody doing? This is the post-trauma check-in. Everybody's all right? You're all good? Okay. I know I took you to many places. I'm glad you're all right. Thank you for coming with me. This is called While I Wash My Face, I Ask Impossible Questions of Myself and Those Who Love Me. Specks of toothpaste fleck the mirror. A fan spins dust in the hall. I find this is it too vulgar to accept. So I wait for a new starting point, as though life will begin there and then. Do you know what I mean? Not what I'm saying, what I mean. Is it possible my function is to hold all the intricate interstitial pain and articulate clarity? Tie a boat to my wrist, I sprout wings. Give me a pair of shoes, I grow fins. Once an hour, I trick myself into focus. I look into the glass as I look through it. When the new beginning comes, what then? Does life suddenly reset like an Atari? Does meaning emerge assertively and without invitation? The task is to live well enough with you. But how? How do you know what you want if you don't tell you, if you don't hear you? All right. This is called 35th Year. Dread remains. I keep looking for a thing I can't name, though I try purpose, meaning, presence. I circle my worst fear in life, which is my life. What to do with it, how to shape it, and so on. It's something like a tiger circling a cage inside a cage that I circle. It's a privilege, I know. Still, I can't land on a 5-year plan, so I return text messages and look for doors. To the laundry room, the basement, the self. I ask questions I can manage. How may I be of service? And questions I can't. Why are we here? Do you think of us as here together? I try a new city every 2 to 4 years, then complain about a lack of continuity, of roots. Every morning, I stretch out on my foam roller, make a protein shake, and take a shot of apple cider vinegar to lower my A1C. I moisturize. I sip tea. At night, when my body begs for a range of macronutrients, I stretch out across the couch and eat a handful of jelly beans, a domestic glamour shot, with anything on Netflix that runs long enough to be the background noise I need to avoid returning to those questions or looking for the name of the thing I'm looking for. And what I can't understand is that I know a dear older friend was right to remind me once, though it's returned to me again and again and again. You are actually very good at joy. All right. I'm gonna close with the final poem in the book, which was quoted a couple times in the introduction. It's called Worthiness, and just want to give you a little context about this poem. The summer of 2020, I was preparing to leave my life in California for a job in Chicago, and it was, as we all remember, a very painful, complicated summer, not just because of the pandemic, but because of the social unrest in the face of grave, old racial injustices in this country. And I was invited by an old friend from college who's a successful journalist. This is being recorded. I was invited to write something that I didn't, sorry, I really have to change that. I was invited by someone to write about Mr. George Floyd's execution in prose for a popular media outlet. And I didn't want to do it because, for lots of reasons. I didn't feel I was exactly the right person. I didn't really feel I had anything unique to say about this. We've been saying the same thing again and again over a long time. But I felt that I should try. And so for about 3 days, I just kind of moved language around on the page, not really getting anywhere. And then this poem began to assert itself. And I realized that something in me knew I had to try in order to find this poem, which then eventually closed the book. It's like 3 to 4 minutes to read, just so you know. This will be the final poem. It's just a series of one-line stanzas, so each moment is its own moment. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening. Worthiness. Guns and tear gas on TV are not where I want to begin. The rejection for me came from both directions. Home was not a place in any sense, an idea defined by its absence. What about here? What about now? I know to ask myself. Years ago, I hurt my neck in an accident, I write, and before I can finish, I turn away from me. Who was the first who turned away? Some say I lack the right to complain because I still have breath. I try to be deliberate, to be present inside the time that partitions the day. Time is less a measure of what is, more a framework of control, a structuring tool. An hour reflects the notion that we belong and are separate at once. I understand so little about progress. Some call grief complaint. Once an acquaintance performing both conviction and lament, how hard it must be to walk into a room and be neither black nor white. His motivation not to empathize, but to test a hypothesis, to ask me who I was, not seeing he had already decided. I admit I fail at being present. I prepare for the hour I lose by preparing. The self I inhabit is fluid, shifting, I know to remind myself. The chokehold originates in the martial arts, a position of active defense. Air chokes and blood chokes are the two types. In both instances, the purpose is to induce an unconscious state, even death. As the measures of day proceed, an unconscious state becomes my objective. You'll have to forgive it, scientists confirm. Some say the word trauma is overused these days to the extent its meaning is diminished. The intention of the chokehold is to induce an unconscious state. Unconscious states vary in nature and origin. In waking dreams, before I wake, the tasks of the day assert themselves. One task is to go to the gym. One task is to deconstruct racial constructs. Guns and tear gas are not where I would choose to begin. I try to be deliberate, to be present. In a way, my to-do list seems manageable, even standard. I reduce each task to its constituent parts for efficiency and practicability. In an email to a student, I explained, to racialize is the act of assigning a racial category to a person's body, e.g., an Arab from the Maghreb, his mother in the United States is racialized as black. Scientists say there is no single physical attribute that establishes a so-called race. Scientists say trauma lives inside the body and is passed on generationally. Physiologically, joy is a surge of dopamine and serotonin in the brain. In an experience of joy, it is unclear whether physiology or event comes first. 9.5 minutes of a knee on a neck is not formally a chokehold. The choke of chokehold points less to the neck of the victim, more to the hands of the perp, e.g. you can choke a pen, a water hose, a clothesline. 9.5 minutes of a knee on a neck is more akin to, and I turn away from me again. Is one's psychology a spiritual or physiological occurrence? If he felt scared or threatened or even a pressure to do his job in a way he had fundamentally misinterpreted but believed in because reinforced by the system he worked for and within, why was his face so neutral, so casual? The act of racialization occurs instantly, prior to applying interpretations of gender or age, scientists say. In the late aughts, popular culture felt the need to recast homophobia. You're not scared, you're just an asshole, the meme said. Racism is not etymologically conceived as fear. The ism suffix forms action nouns of verbs, e.g. baptism is the action noun of the verb baptize. Race, by this logic, would be a verb root. Racism, the act of performing race. The sinister connotation of racism suggests the race being performed by racism is sinister. If racism exists to uphold the supremacy of the white racial category, whiteness, by this logic, is sinister. I try to be deliberate, to inhabit the present moment that agitates me into fleeing. Being here now with you, speaking here now with you, is the most difficult thing I can do. I am not being rational. I am trying to reduce the present into its constituent parts. Last month, a student emailed me to say she was too scared to go to any class but ours. It was not a compliment. I did not take it as a compliment. I am tired of apologizing for the heaviness of what I am required to discuss in order to live. I tell the student she is worthy. I ask her to write a poem about her worthiness. When I turn away from the day, I enter an unconscious state. I seek it. Though years ago I wrote, I want to enter my life like a room. Thank you so much. Thanks, y'all. Thank you. Thanks. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh. Thanks, y'all. Y'all are lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. Do I go over there now? Okay.
One more round of applause for Charif Shanahan. Yeah. Those books are for sale over here. Please come buy them and come meet Charif and come talk some more. We hope to see you in class in the Poetry Center next semester. Thanks everybody for being here and helping us close out the fall.